Here are two flood zones that I would avoid. Look, I bought a home in a flood zone more than a decade ago and I almost lost it. So I want to make sure that you can avoid these two areas. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Chris with the Flood Insurance Guru. For more than a decade, I've been helping potential homeowners avoid certain flood zones after I almost lost my own home. So today we're talking about two areas you want to avoid when you're buying a home. But if you do have to buy in these areas, what you can do to minimize your costs and really your exposure. And we're talking about flood zone A and flood zone AE. Look, if you're going to buying a property and it says flood zone X, congratulations. That means your mortgage company is not going to require flood insurance. However, if it says A or AE, like one of these areas, then it probably is going to require flood insurance. So you want to think about, okay, I know that it's going to cost me on average probably an additional $100 a month on my mortgage to buy flood insurance, because that's the national average. And that's one of the reasons why you want to try to avoid flood zone A or AE, because mortgage companies are going to require it. Does that mean your property is not going to flood? No. That just means from a mortgage standpoint, what's going to be required here. It's important to understand, though, whether you're in flood zone X, flood zone A, or AE, your property still has the risk of flooding. In fact, in the description of this video, you can find your flood risk score on that property. But if you are going to buy a flood zone A or AE, getting that flood risk score is going to help you do a couple things. It's going to help you understand what your long-term premiums potentially could look at like. It could help you understand how close to water you are. Now, you don't see the water here behind me, but just on the other side of those trees is a floodway. That's another area you want to avoid in these areas, because that will make your flood insurance options limited and more expensive. So if you're looking at buying, this is the exact approach that I would take. And look, if you are going to buy in these areas, and when you're looking at your flood insurance options, look at the National Flood Insurance Program and look at least 3 different private flood insurance options. And you can even, in the description of this video, go ahead and start getting a quote if you want on that property you're looking at. In fact, you can even have an estimated premium probably in less than 60 seconds to give you an idea what the cost is going to be here. However, if you are also going to buy in flood zone A or AE, ask the current homeowner if they have a policy in place. You might be able to take that policy over that has the same amount of coverage at about 1/10 of the cost. We see this happen every day. It's called a policy assumption. I did it on my own property, saved me $2,500. So if you're going to buy in flood zone A or AE, these are the exact things you want to do to minimize your exposure and your costs. I'm Chris with the Flood Insurance Guru, and I want to say thank you for watching today's video.